The SpongeBob universe, from 2 spin-offs all the way up to 4 movies. After Sponge on the Run debuted in 2020, many fans, myself included, wondered what was next for the little optimistic Sponge and his underwater crew. And we finally got our answer, which was a spin-off movie about Sandy Cheeks saving Bikini Bottom. I gotta be honest, the concept of this was genius and something that I felt would really benefit the SpongeBob universe, as Sandy is one of the most interesting characters in the series, but doesn't get as much limelight as she deserves, so you bet your fat stack of cash. When I found out that Sandy was getting her own movie, I was pretty hyped. However, this couldn't have been more of a sad story. It's no secret that this movie had a pretty rough start with the massive Twitter leak, which already had people going in and not supporting the official release. Many months later, we got the official announcement that the Sandy Cheeks movie will be releasing on Netflix August 2nd of 2024, so I grabbed my TV remote, clicked on Netflix, and began watching. Immediately hopping on, something felt off, but what exactly? Well, that's what we're going to be figuring out on this list today. But before we dive into Bikini Bottom, be sure to smash that like, subscribe button, you know all that good stuff. Without further options, let's begin. Alright, so first up we see a musical segment of Sandy riding into town, singing a song with everyone. Soon after, the entire Bikini Bottom is scooped up out of the ocean and brought to a Texas laboratory that Sandy is affiliated with, so it's up to her and SpongeBob to travel to Texas to save the town. So first things first, I gotta say, seeing the entire Bikini Bottom sing and dance along to everything felt cringe, and something that I know some characters wouldn't do, especially Larry and Mr. Krabs. All this mixed with the animation style, which to me felt like a great value version of Sponge on the Run. Like, I understand it's a spin-off movie and not mainstream, but this felt more like a Wiggles musical bit rather than SpongeBob SquarePants. There's also some very downgraded live-action CGI, which I'll get into later, but for now things are not looking so good. Anyways, I think the plot is decent, but I can see why it may be off-putting, since we've been seeing this type of story told many times, with the first being The Crown, the second being the Krabby Patty formula, the third being SpongeBob himself more or less, and now it's literally the entire town. But since the stakes are higher, and it's more of Sandy's perspective, I guess, I'll give them a pass here. Continuing on, Sandy and SpongeBob hop on a plane to head to Texas, giving us some cool shots of not just the bumpy ride, but of the map-style landscape below. Another nice touch I appreciated was Sandy's newest invention, Super Hydration Lotion, that basically allows SpongeBob to temporarily breathe on land. Like, I thought this was definitely a better route to go than Sponge on the Run's approach, which was that it was all a dream. So here it didn't feel like pointless filler, so I gotta give them credit for that one. However, one thing I won't be giving them credit for is SpongeBob's insane level of pure stupidity. He is just so borderline unlikable and off-putting here, to the point where I don't understand what the writers were thinking. Like, there's literally scenes of SpongeBob going around tickling people's feet, sniffing piles of feces, and just literally laughing at anything and anyone for absolutely no reason. The only one who honestly acts in character throughout the whole movie is Sandy, which should be the case since it's her own movie after all, but still, I'm not giving it a point for that one. Once the two land in Texas, we're greeted with these weird rattlesnakes, who to me felt like the pets of the zombie cowboys from Sponge on the Run, who bite Sandy, inflating her worse than Mrs. Puff has ever experienced. It's here we see Sandy whistle for help, and we're smack dab met with the Cheeks family. They're not very good. Okay, so maybe that's a little harsh, but there's just not a lot of depth to them, and they feel like more plot devices than actual characters. I also don't understand why they even bothered to have her family mention they support her so long as she stays in Texas, as it's never even brought up again and it's just completely tossed in the trash. This could have made up for at least something of another subplot and made better runtime than pretty much everything we've seen up until this point. After a bunch of small gags and shenanigans, Sandy and SpongeBob reach the lab where the Bikini Bottom is being held hostage, effectively being guarded by the villain's goon squad, whose names escape my mind, doesn't matter. They inform Sandy they betrayed her because Tsunami, yes, that's the villain's actual in-character name, promised the two they'd be rewarded by receiving a break room vending machine that she may fill one day, so long as they continue to be good. Their words, not mine. Tsunami expresses gratitude to Sandy that if it wasn't for her research, she wouldn't have been able to succeed in her plan, which is to clone residents in Bikini Bottom and sell them as merchandise. We then see a horrible live-action CGI flashback of Tsunami, no, and why she is so evil, yada yada yada. Like, the villain is then fully revealed to be a human-cyborg mix, which has got to be on par with some of the worst early PC Flash game animation. Like, was their budget really that low? So, apparently the Goon Squad suddenly learned Tsunami bought the vending machine with money from their work checks, so they decide to switch up, help Sandy and the others free Bikini Bottom. Tsunami is now a fish for some reason. The Cheeks family once again hears the family whistle code, and magically appears because, you know, cartoon logic, plot. They help launch Bikini Bottom back to where it belongs. The former Goon Squad comes down to celebrate with everyone, giving us a happy ending. It's here you see me clapping, not because the movie was great, but because it was over. This movie is without a doubt not only the weakest of the 4 SpongeBob movies, but the lowest on the newest movie totem pole. From Despicable Me 4 to Kung Fu Panda 4, it's by far at the bottom slot. Now, I really wanted to like this movie, I really did, but it would just be dishonest of me to say this movie was good. From the horrendous animation style, terrible acting of the villains, complete and total character derailment, Sandy's family being bland, it's all around just a huge headache, or as my good buddy Squidward would say, another day, another migraine.
Another day, another migraine.
The only good things I can say about this movie is Sandy is the only one who acts in character. The small little inventions she creates, such as her robotic horse and super hydration lotion, like this really reminded me of the early seasons when SpongeBob used to tinker around with things like his chaperone outfit stilts, or him riding around on his little unicycle. Like, no! Whatever happened to that? So I'm just glad to see a little taste of it here, even if it is through Sandy. Other than all of that and the plane shots, this movie massively took a huge L, and it's completely deserved. I just really hope that the next set of movies coming up really delivers this time, that being the spin-off movie about Plankton, which I think unfortunately has been leaked online once again. Don't understand how that keeps happening, but I won't be seeing or talking about it until its official release anyway. Other than that, we have the mainstream movie Search for SquarePants, which from what I hear will be about SpongeBob going through the deepest depths of the ocean to face off against the Flying Dutchman, now voiced by Mark Hamill, who actually does a really good job. Unfortunately, that means Brian Murray won't be reprising his role. I can't say concretely why, but if I had to guess, I'd say a full-length movie would just be too much for the guy, as he is 78 years old. Not to say he can't, he probably could, it would just be really hard. And honestly, with a big name like Mark Hamill on Nickelodeon's marketing, yeah, I'm sure that'll get the money flooding right on him. After all, that's Hollywood for you. Whatever sells the most tickets is what they're going to aim for. Overall, hopefully these two movies perform better than the last, because this is truly a sad sight for SpongeBob fans like myself, who was genuinely excited for a standalone Sandy movie, and in the end got an unpolished dumpster fire that is the Sandy Cheeks movie. Again, I feel really bad for trashing it this hard, but what can I say other than they fumbled the bag on almost everything they've shown? Like, this movie could have easily been way better than Sponge on the Run, and maybe even Sponge Out of Water, although that would probably be pushing it. Overall, they had a solid concept going for themselves, with a full Texas reveal, and yes, before anyone says anything, I know we technically saw it in Rodeo Days, but that was all the way back in Season 7, and besides, that was just the tip of the iceberg. Here it could have been way more explored, especially with the Sandy Cheeks family introduction. Like, that felt like it had a lot to be desired from. I wouldn't say they're bad characters or anything, they're just really bland, super vanilla, don't have a lot to offer, pretty much all one-dimensional. For how bad this might have sounded, I think they're probably the most easiest to sit and watch through. Other than the plane scene, everything else is pretty much garbage. The only hope I think that these characters have at this point is the possibility of getting more time to shine in the main series, because I don't think they'll have any major, if at all, any roles in the next movies. If anyone is interested, I could maybe do a list on how to fix the Sandy Cheeks movie from start to finish. I think that could be really freaking cool. Or if you'd like to see a versus battle between this and Sponge on the Run, that could also be kind of fun and interesting. Though if I'm being honest, I feel the outcome is pretty obvious. But with the full breakdown, who knows. Alright viewers, that's the end of our list. Let me know your thoughts down below. Did you enjoy the Sandy Cheeks movie? Did you hate it? I'm curious to know. With all that said, I look forward to seeing you with our next list.